Welcome to the IonaHoops.com podcast with your host, Guy Flatico.
What's up, Gael Nation? It's Season 3, Episode 35 of the IonaHoops.com podcast. And in this episode, we'll finally conclude our series of recruit scouting reports with two last guests stopping by to drop knowledge. We've even got some non-conference scheduling news, and be very afraid, I'm even going to sing at one point in this episode. So we've got a lot to cover, and as always, we've got a couple of Iona Iotas as well.
Iotas.
A couple steps closer to a full non-conference slate. Want another quality 1-for-1 series against a good mid-major? How about Colgate? The Red Raiders out of the Patriot League will be visiting Iona in late December, and the Gaels will return the game in the 2024-25 season. Nice one there. Want another opponent? The Gaels are hosting Sacred Heart this year in a bye game. Not sure the exact date of that one just yet. It's probably one of the first couple of games of the season. Of course, it has not been officially announced by the school yet, but a couple of good sources are confirming it. How about some more info? We have a date for the game against St. Joe's at UBS. It'll be Saturday, December 16th. Also hearing Jared Grosso and Bryant will be on the card as well at that day at UBS against Towson, and there may be a third game as well. Stay tuned. And we're not done yet. It appears we finally have a full list of 8 teams for the Gulf Coast Classic, November 20 to 22nd in Estero, Florida, right next to Fort Myers. In addition to Iona, we have Hofstra, Wright State, Buffalo, Illinois State, Long Beach State, High Point, and Louisiana. Full bracket and game time should be out pretty soon. I know I'll be booking a flight. All right, so where are we then with the non-conference schedule on the whole? Well, it's believed we'll have a total of 4 home games, 3 of which we now know about, with the opponents with Hofstra, Colgate, and Sacred Heart. And rumor has it the 4th game will be another bye home game, so stay tuned there. Neutral site, we have 4 of those too. The 3 games in Florida and the St. Joe's game. That's 8. That leaves 3 road games at Colorado, Sunday, November 26th, at Charleston, which I believe is our season opener, but we don't have a date for that one yet, and at Harvard. That's 11. And so we're just about there. Given the situation with the new staff and 11 new Gaels, I like this slate. I know some people think it might not have a lot of oomph, but you know what? I mean, what do you want us to do here? We have brand new staff, brand new team. I'm good with the schedule. Too bad if you're not. Should prepare us well for the MAC play. That's what's the most important thing. Nice job by everyone involved on Iona in putting the slate together. And yes, I'd expect you guys will hear about finalizing those season tickets soon as well.
Iotas.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, our true patriot love in all of us command. All right, I'll stop. And it's apparent I've watched way too much hockey in my lifetime. Why am I singing the Canadian national anthem? Well, if you don't know by now, New Gaels Joel Brown and Weeza Penzo are both of Canadian descent. They're childhood friends and have played together in the Great White North. And both participated in workouts for Canada's under-23 team at the Global Jam in Toronto, which gets underway this week. The Canadian team is one of 4 teams in the event, the others being Germany, Africa, and the U.S., which is being represented by none other than John Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats. Bonus, former Gael Nelly Jr. Joseph will be suiting up for Team Africa at the event. Unfortunately, though, Penzo had to withdraw from the event due to family reasons, but Brown will still be playing for Canada. The round-robin event runs from Wednesday, July 12th through Sunday, July 16th. Each team plays each other once, and then there is a gold medal game and a bronze game, so 4 games total for the team. Check out IonaGales.com for official info on this, or IonaHoops.com for unofficial info. How to watch it? Well, that's the tricky part. Right now, it seems like the streaming network in Canada that's airing all of the games cannot be viewed in the U.S. without a VPN. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about with all of that, check out the Iona board or DM me on Twitter and I'll explain further. For the record, using a VPN is how I watched Iona's NCAA game while I was in Aruba, so it is entirely doable. Anyway, keep checking online to see if any info breaks regarding a better way to watch Brown light up Calipari's bunch and make them think they're playing St. Peter's again. All right, let's get to our recruiting features in this podcast, your portal, and the offer roundup. Some late news out of the portal is Texas A&M Corpus Christi transfer and reigning Southland Conference all conference player and defensive player of the year Terrion Murdix hit the transfer market. Iona's expressed interest, but so have, well, a whole bunch of majors and other teams. The 6'1" guard averaged 13.4 points, 5.4 assists, 4.3 rebounds, and 2.3 steals per game, so a great ad for anyone who can land him. But there's a catch. He's recovering from knee surgery right now and is not expected to be healthy until the end of the year or so, the end of December, I should say. But, well, this is the kind of player that Tobin's been holding that last scholarship for. The kid is a game changer, even with this being his last year of eligibility. So, again, majors are interested as well, but we're curious to see who lands him. Good to see Iona make a push for him, though.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Let's start this off with an unofficial visitor. Class of 2025, Omari Moore, 6'3" point guard, Hudson Catholic in Jersey City. He's got interest from majors and mids. He is a top 100 player, number 2 player in New Jersey. He's 4-star on ESPN, 3-star in other platforms. Offered by the likes of St. John's in 2021. Most recent offer was from Fordham back in December. Got a couple 2024 reported offers out there. A 6'8" wing, Josh Decady out of Kimball Union Academy in New Hampshire and Crown AAU. He has a big frame, big motor, finishes through contact, protects the glass and the rim, shows range and perimeter even. Offers from Siena, Fairfield, New Hampshire, Merrimack, Maine, and UMBC, but it feels like he's going to blow up this summer. And we've offered 6'7" wing, Malik Abdullahi out of Miami, 3-star on 3, offers from Georgia, Florida Atlantic, Rice, Illinois, Chicago, Florida Gulf Coast, and a host of others. Versatile player and athlete. Would be a lot of fun to watch in a Gale uniform. Finally, we've got a 6'5" class of 2024 combo guard out of Raleigh, J.N. Walker. He's an athletic, high IQ player. Offers from St. Bonaventure, Robert Morris, Georgia State, High Point, William Mary, and UT Arlington, with interest from the likes of Richmond, VCU, and Yale. Tough kid, but versatile in his game. Good handle as well. Looks like a really nice player. All right, let's blow up this podcast with our 2 guests and our final 2 scouts of New Gaels. We'll start with Andrew Bowman, assistant coach of Sultan Adewale at Newman Goretti High. And then Ryan Price joins us. He was an assistant coach at Southern last year and can give us some insights on New Gael Terrell Williams Jr. Let's get to it. Andrew Bowman is the assistant basketball coach at Newman Goretti High in Philly, which produced New Gael Sultan Adewale. So he's been able to watch Sultan develop his game over these years, which concluded with first team All-State honors after averaging 15 and 10 last year. The 6'8" Brit just feels like he's going to have an impact from day one for the Gaels. So let's now welcome Coach Bowman so we can learn more about the big man. Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Guy. Appreciate you having me on.
So Adewale had some big time offers during his high school years, and even just a couple weeks before committing to Iona, Buffalo out of the Mid-American offered him. Can you give us your view of how his recruiting went these past couple of years?
Yeah, so for him and a number of high school kids, COVID obviously kind of played a big role in a lot of this. Then add on the fact that he's an international coming from Great Britain, and when he first got over here, which I guess was summer of 2020, he was at a pretty small school out in St. Louis that actually ended up closing their doors after that school year. I think they maybe had 20, 25 kids kind of total in the school. Really just like one of those athletic schools that kind of also exist as a high school as well too. They played most of their basketball out the grind session, which is mostly in Arizona, but a little bit in California and I think the Las Vegas area as well too. And then he kind of was up in the air with staying in the States or not. Obviously still had a lot of that interest, from colleges. So, it sort of made sense that, if he could find a school here, he should, because, it seemed like he was going to be transitioning kind of, into a Division I basketball player. And I had known about him Prior to him coming, to the States, he actually was going to come to Newman before all this COVID kind of stuff kicked off. And then, we weren't actually able to take any international kids league wide. That was kind of like a rule. So, we were able to kind of get him a fit at a school that, I was kind of, happy he was here, but at the same time, a little upset that, okay, he'll be there just for, the next 2 years, and then he'll go off to college. But fortunately, unfortunately, however I guess you want to look at it, he was able to make his way out to Newman for us. And it also changed the kind of the landscape of schools that were looking at him. He had a lot of Midwest and West teams that kind of saw him play a little more. And then obviously playing in Philadelphia, there's I don't know, there's five, 6 schools within 10 miles of our campus that are Division I schools, basically, the big 5 City 6 out of Philly.
Right.
Then you throw in a number of South Jersey teams, University of Delaware, some of the Patriot leagues, and going down into Maryland. I mean, that it takes off from there. There's 50 probably programs that had kind of seen him play, and with some of the high major interest, it at the same time kind of can scare away some smaller schools, thinking that like, okay, well, I saw this up on his Instagram or on his Twitter, or someone mentioned this, so maybe he's not the type of guy for us. And you also every year kind of go through the whole coaching change of maybe they were recruiting me here and then they're going to go here, and maybe I don't fit that style, or it's too big of a program or too small of a program. And I think with Coach Anderson at Iona, that was something that probably fit perfectly for Sultan, with him leaving FDU and then going up there to New York and to Iona. And not that it was like they kind of jumped in late, just the timing almost kind of worked out perfectly. And he was excited about all of it, and we were as well too.
I saw a quote from Sultan after he committed. The Iona staff told him that there's no one like him on the roster. And even now, with recruiting pretty much done, it looks like for us, this is the case. What does he bring to the Gaels when on the court?
Sultan, he does a lot of, little things that coaches kind of love, filling up the stat sheets, whether it's, offensive rebound, deflections, stuff like that. So there's always going to be a place for him, kind of at any level that he plays. And you mentioned it earlier about his stats and in the state tournament and in the regular season, and being first team all state, is that he's really like an absolute double machine, and really one of the best offensive rebounders I've ever seen at the high school level. And he kind of can score on his own, and also can run that like 2-man game a little bit. Pretty good for us in screens and pops, but he could face up and back down to the basket a little bit, if he needed to, and really just gonna fill up the stat sheet, like I said, on some of those second chance points and offensive rebounds. So I think like I said, that you kind of can find that you can find a fit for that kid anywhere, just because those are things that you want. And actually was going back and looking at Coach Anderson's FDU team, and I remember watching a little bit of him the year before when they were at St. Thomas, and there's a kid he had, I think he's still going to be at FDU this year, named Sean Moore, who's like a undersized, like 4 type player. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", maybe, and Sultan's bigger than he is, but very similar kind of player to him. And if you go and kind of look at his stats, he kind of did a little bit of everything, can shoot it from outside, rebounds, all that kind of stuff. And I think, Sultan from the beginning, is going to have a shot to, get some minutes and play there.
Yeah, I mean, Tobin runs that 5-out motion offense, and he recruited like that this year. I mean, the one big that is returning from the one player that's returning from Iona's roster last year is a stretch 5. And he recruited, perimeter guys, mostly even as bigs perimeter guys. So, like to your point, he did have that one guy in FDU who can do the dirty work in the paint and battle for boards and things like that. And it sounds like Sultan is the guy who's going to do that. But even in the system, you do need that one guy who can be that guy who can set up on the low post and do some things for you, back to the basket type stuff. In your mind, can Sultan be that guy?
Yeah, I think he can. Especially in that conference. He's now no longer, he's not like an undersized big, playing in, a high major conference somewhere. He's now, he's got good size for that conference, but also, is an athletic kid, plays out on the wing a little bit. I mean, and like you mentioned with which Coach Anderson's office, I mean, we're pretty much 5 out as well too. We sometimes, can have our point guard down kind of in the low block, running, we call it like our playmaker spot, kind of, running from there, and Sultan might be out on the key or cutting through, and it's going to be a perfect fit for him, something he's already used to. And there's not going to be that much of a learning curve really, as far as overall general concepts.
And he definitely looks like the part of a kid who's ready to contribute on the D1 level right away. Obviously, a lot of freshmen, especially bigs, don't always have that, but he feels like he can. Is there an area of his game though that you feel maybe he's not quite D1 ready just yet?
The only thing I maybe would say is a little bit of his ball handling. And I mean, again, you're probably like, well, we're not asking him to run the point or being a 2-guard for us or anything. But I mean, he can, if he's out on the wing, I mean, he can get downhill pretty quickly. I think if he just tightens up, that little bit of his game, that'll, probably help him a lot. And probably just put some weight on. I mean, that's probably pretty common for most players coming out of high school, transitioning into playing Division I at any level. But they have them locked in the weight room and, eating pretty well at on campus and stuff like that. So that's not going to be, I don't think, too big of a challenge for him. And he does like to eat.
Good. Well, I've conducted a lot of these scouts of Iona players this offseason on this podcast. I always wrap up with the same question: why will Iona fans love Sultan?
So I mean, he plays for the name on the front of the jersey and not the name on the back. I mean, that's something that he did already before coming to Newman. It's something that we really instill in all of our guys, and it wasn't hard for him. But I mean, we got it in his brain again too. And I mean, he plays hard. He plays hard for his teammates, for himself. He's had a pretty rough road. Kind of transitioning from coming over by himself, being an only child. His mom just passed away in the fall of his senior year, kind of pretty unexpectedly. I mean, he's a gritty kid. I mean, he's got the mindset of like a Philly guard, but in his 6'8" and long frame. And he's just an absolute pleasure to have around, on the court, off the court. And I know Iona's pretty passionate about, everything to do with their school and especially their basketball. And I think, they'll come to love him, pretty quickly.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and share your insights on him. We're super excited to have him here, and we can't wait to watch him develop as a Gael. We appreciate you coming on to educate us on him, and thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Looking forward to getting up to a game or circling some away games and coming and seeing you guys next year.
We'd love to have you. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Guy. I'll see you.
Ryan Price was an assistant coach at Southern University last year. So if there's anyone who knows what former Jaguar Terrell Williams Jr. brings to the table, it's him. Williams averaged 8 and 4 while shooting 48% field goal, 36% from three. So he was a SWAC Rookie of the Year in 2021, 68 career starts under his belt. So he brings lots of experience while still having 2 years of eligibility left for the Gaels. And Coach Price is here to tell us more about him. Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Guy, for having me.
Well, Coach, Terrell just seems like a kid who does a little bit of everything out there. He scores, he defends, he rebounds. He's got a lot of experience. But kids like him, you have to kind of look past the stats to all the other stuff they bring, right?
Yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, Terrell has 68 starts for us at Southern while he was there. We were blessed to have him in our program because he brought in leadership. What people don't know is he spent a year red-shirted with us. So it was a lot of development, a lot of growth, and a lot of trying to get better. There were times that he would stay after practice numerous times or after games and just continue to get better and work on his game when he red-shirted. So there's some things about him as far as his work ethic, where he'll work and get better and try to do better and try to do the things that it takes for your team to win a championship.
Well, I'm not a coach, but in my mind, you can never have enough 6'6" kids who are athletic and have all these diverse skills like Terrell has, and he really fits into that mold. But he's coming to an Iona situation that's a little strange. So Rick Pitino leaves, the whole roster leaves with him pretty much. Only one kid returning, 11 new guys recruited by Tobin Anderson and his staff. It's a complete reboot for a program, and yet he had the confidence to say, "I want to come in there and be a part of that." So tell us about what he's like as a player and what he's like as a person.
Well, what's unique about that is he has been in that position before. Because the year that he signed with us at Southern, it was actually, we were going in a year or two, so we had to gut some things out and kind of clean up our program and get some kids into our program. And it was kind of a similar situation, only we were going in a year or two. We brought in 12 new faces. So he's been in that position before. So I don't think it's anything to him. I think he's up for the challenge of, going to a situation where, it's kind of the land of unknown, as far as guys haven't spent 2 or 3 years playing together with one another. And, just, I guess now with the culture of college basketball, that's almost uncommon anyway, just to sit there and have teams that have been together for 3 or 4 years. Now everybody is looking into the portal and looking to make moves and things of that sort. But I think, with Terrell's game, I think what people will love is his versatility. As you mentioned before, he shoots the basketball at a solid clip. He was always in the mid-30s as far as shooting the three. We actually wanted him to shoot the basketball a little bit more because we thought he was a pretty solid shooter. Defensively, he will take on the task of being a lockdown defender. He has a great body, big time body. We kind of talk about it. Modern day people won't know about it, and honestly, younger folks won't know about this. But people that have been watching the game of basketball will know his body is very similar to Lim Bias. He has a great body. I mean, he puts a lot of work into getting his body looking right. He does a good job defensively. Like I said before, as far as defending the basketball, shooting the basketball, he's very solid at that. There's some things that obviously he probably has to get a little bit better. It was just things that we were talking to him about as far as being able to rebound the basketball a little bit more consistently. With his athleticism, getting 4 rebounds a game, he probably should be getting 7 or 8 rebounds a game. But great kid. Amazing kid. He's the kid. I have a young family. He's the type of kid I could trust to watch over my family if I stepped away from my house for a few minutes. He comes from obviously with an engineering degree, which is one of the strong suits at Southern University as far as degree programs. I kind of laugh and joke. I kind of tell this story about Terrell. Terrell will freak out if he doesn't have all A's. So if he gets a B, he loses it. But he's a phenomenal kid, great character. Just the type kid that you want in your program.
So with Tobin Anderson, he's going to play. Terrell's going to be in a 5-out system on offense. We have bigs that can shoot it. I don't know again what much you know about us. We have one guy returned from last year, and he's a 7-foot center, but he's more of a stretch 5. Shoots in the 30s from 3. So it's very nobody really on the roster is set up to be like the low post threat. But with the way they're going to be spread out on offense, it's really going to open up lanes. And from just watching his Terrell's highlights, he's not bashful going to the basket. So he should have some opportunities there. Do you agree?
Yeah. We did a lot of different things offensively. We played a lot of small basketball, and that's where we kind of had some success. So to be honest with you, Terrell can play multiple positions. I mean, he's been in positions where he's had to play the 5 for us, even though he's not obviously traditional 5-man, but he'll play the 4, which is what his primary position was for us. So, and in most cases now, the way the game has evolved, he definitely, can do a lot of different things, playing multiple positions. He could be a guard that can dribble the basketball a little bit, obviously shoot it. He can put it on the floor, get to the rim. So I think he would fit really good in that system, just because he's got some similarities to what we did when we were both at Southern, because we did a lot of things with dribble drive, and obviously with dribble drive, you have to be able to do a multitude of things. You can't just be a one-dimensional player.
And on the defensive end, Tobin, I know, is going to want to go fairly deep. He's going to want to press a lot, wants to get him out in transition. Iona's got a bunch of guys in that 6'6" range. And here with Terrell, we got another one. I just feel a lot of stuff going on the break, a lot of finishing on the break. Did you guys press a lot at Southern?
That's all we did.
All right.
So he will fit great with that. He really will. So, we were in a lot of basketball games over the course of the last couple of years where we got ourselves back in basketball games while pressing. And he was obviously one of the catalysts. He's one of those guys that'll fly around. We did a lot of pressing. I mean, not as much this previous season, but in the 2 years prior, we pressed quite a bit. And Terrell was very instrumental in our pressure defense. So that won't be anything that'll be something completely different for him. He's been through press and pressing. So I think he will do well, obviously in that kind of system because he has experience in it.
Well, like I said, I didn't get to see any of the games, but certainly just watching his highlights and just knowing what we're going to be running next year on both ends, he seems like a perfect fit. So I've done a bunch of these kinds of interviews with folks like yourself to get insights into all our new players at Iona. And I always wrap up with the same question. Why are Iona fans going to love Terrell?
Because he's a guy that's going to give everything he's got, 110%. He's a guy that brings a lot of experience. He's going to be a great kid. He's going to make a lot of athletic plays. He's going to make an impact because of his athleticism. And then, me and him talk quite a bit. I know his excitement of being up there. He wants to be in a position where he can help Ione continue the tradition that they've had as far as winning championships. So, he's a guy that wants to win. So I look at him as being a grad transfer that has 2 years, and I know he's eager to try to help win a championship for Iona basketball.
Well, we're eager to have him, and we're thankful that you were able to come on with us and share some knowledge. Because when you have so many new players, the fans are just like, "Who are these guys?" So to have someone come on like yourself to give us a lot of insights into Terrell, the man, not just the player, is really helpful to us. So I want to say thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Guy. I appreciate it so much for asking me to be on. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll catch up with you down the line. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again to our guests this episode and all our guests along the way during this barrage of scouting reports the past 3 months or so. We're getting very close to the end of season 3 on the pod, but before the final curtain, we've got a doozy of an ep next time out. Be sure to tune in for that one. We'll see you then. Go Gaels.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the IonaHoops.com podcast. This podcast is a production of IonaHoops.com with publisher Guy Filatico. The opinions shared during this podcast are those of Guy Filatico, IonaHoops.com, and any featured guests. This podcast is not affiliated with Iona University Athletics or the university itself. Thank you for supporting IonaHoops.com.